Students, take your seats, grab all of your parchment and your quills. Class is now in session. I'm tormented by gnomes. I'm going to be your game master this evening. And joining me is my fantastic cast. We've got Crowan, Leg Day, Lemon Kiwi, and Anacra. Welcome back, everybody, to IOTH Academy.
Woo, happy to
One
be
of us
here.
forgot to ping their Discord.
You're that person. He's
It
that
was
guy.
me. Okay, I fixed it.
All right. All is forgiven. That's, minus 5 points from Leg Day door. Welcome back, everybody. Our heroes are students at IOTH Academy, the greatest institute of magical learning in the four kingdoms of Anacra. In our last adventure, they each arrived at this school, each in their own way, by their own path, each of them with secrets to hide. And they met each other for the first time, made some friends, got into a little bit of trouble. They've been assigned to live in the Grove, which is a floating forest inside the giant golden sphere of IOTH Academy. And a little village with different huts and circles and all sorts of outdoor living spaces for them to dwell and to learn the mysteries of magic. In our last adventure, they received their first lesson. It wasn't so much a lesson as much of an orientation day about magic. And they got into a little bit of trouble. Leg Day, what happened with your character?
I fell out a window due to the mysterious, ineffable machinations of fate. I've just been tossed around by the whirling eddies of cosmic disadvantage. And thus I fell out of a window and into a bush. And some guys yelled at me and said, "Labyrinth." I was like, "With a Minotaur? I know him. He can see in the dark."
It's true. All right. As for the rest of you, Arianna slept right through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Garnet, you kind of woke up for a moment, heard a commotion, gave it a solid meh, and went back to sleep. But Alyxander, bring us up to speed. What's going on with Alyxander right now?
Yeah, Alexander was it was like this burning feeling, right? It just wouldn't go away. It was getting worse throughout the day, and it was a little uncomfortable to sleep through. I was mentally fatigued and exhausted throughout the whole orientation day. So he snuck off into the woods, tried to unleash some of his magic that was there, and he could feel it in his mind, or at least could have, but not then because it was gone. Couldn't do anything magical.
Yes, the doorway that you once opened into this icy wind of power that invigorated you and gave you the ability to change reality around you seems to be closed or lost. That is where we left off. In today's adventure, we're going to return to our heroes in this position on the next day, go through their first real lessons about magic, and then catch up with them throughout the entire school year as they study, go to classes, so on and so forth. So the sun rises over the golden sphere of the academy the next day. And let's go one by one through the party. Alyxander, how/did you sleep?
Probably not much, if so. I imagine after that, Alexander was kind of like freaked out by the whole situation and kind of just like stayed in the woods for a while, be like, "Oh, okay, let me try again," sort of thing, and nothing was working, and so would have eventually snuck back into the sleeping quarters, dormitory area, and tried to sleep, couldn't. Maybe eventually got like a 30-minute, is very on and off, very spotty, definitely very exhausted the next day.
All right, so he wakes up weary and fatigued. Crowan, please roll a... You don't have any disadvantage, right? It's all just being piled up on leg day. Please roll...
Don't worry, guys. I'm face tanking with disadvantage.
I need a tank. Feels good.
Roll a Constitution saving throw, please.
Okay. Con save. Oh, natural 20.
Wow. All right. So you're still... I remember when I was young and I could stay up all night just because I didn't feel like it and just bounce back the next day. And it was like somebody flipped a switch sometime around before I turned 25, where it's just like, yeah, you do that and you die now. But fortunately, Alyxander is still full of youthful energy, so he does not start the next day with 1 point of exhaustion.
Nice.
Lucky.
Very lucky. He's just rolling through, you know. He's has that youthful energy, still riding the adrenaline of I'm here at this school. I gotta be on top of my game.
All right, and you get inspiration now from chat. Thank you. All right, leg day. After getting caught, getting sent back to bed, being told that he was going to the labyrinth without being told what the labyrinth is, how does Athalor's trance that night go?
I think he might be slowly adding a couple more memories to his own, including almost permanent falling. It's just like, oh, bugger. So the trance is somewhat underwhelming as far as rejuvenation goes.
All right, roll a Constitution saving throw with disadvantage.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Bam.
A natural 1. A natural 1.
Yo, you big hungover.
Chat is getting their points worth, I'll tell you what. All right.
You can't get worse than a natural 1, boys and girls.
You wake up the next day with 2 ranks of exhaustion. You are so tired. Your mind was the paths that your mind wandered were mostly just like you said, falling. The paths just kept leaving off of cliffs. And so you are incredibly exhausted the next day. You have disadvantage on all ability checks, which is skill checks, not saves or attacks. And your speed is cut in half. In the lens of Anacra, they refer to this as the ass of the dragon because you're dragon ass.
Is there somewhere
I
I note down exhaustion points?
I think I can tweak your character sheet to automatically to track that for you. I'll go ahead and give that a moment.
Okay.
All right. How does Garnet sleep?
You know, I think originally, like, she went out to try and go out to see what the commotion was, and then she got told to go back to bed. So, you know, listen what you're told. The elders got this. I went to bed. Probably woke up with, like, a jump, but slept pretty fine for most of that.
Okay. And what about Arianna?
I think Arianna is just a sound sleeper altogether, so I feel like she's fine. She did good. She's excited. She was tired from the day.
Okay. All right. The night passes without further incident as far as you can know. And the next morning, like I said, the sun rises, a fresh breeze blows through the high windows of the lodge where you're sleeping. You can hear the noise of the frogs in the creek, and the crickets has been replaced by the chirping of birds. And one by one, the caretakers go from bunk to bunk, and they rouse all the students and bring them out because they're being served food out in the open under the canopy of the trees. There's enough tree cover that it's not that morning light that just zaps you in the face. But at the same time, you're definitely getting your vitamin D. It's waking you up, resetting whatever your circadian rhythms were before. It's probably pretty early. And the food, once again, is pretty good. Some sort of honey porridge, fresh fruits and berries, squeezed juices. Yeah, it's kind of wild. There's some like cinnamon and other spices that some of you have never even heard of on that stuff. Sugar, actual sugar. It's bizarre.
Man, Gnomes, you're making my pretzels sound like terrible in comparison.
It's like when you're reading Game of Thrones and the action just stops for 2 pages to describe the entire culinary history of the meal that gets served.
Yeah, I know.
So a lot of the pace of this show, especially when we're doing these kind of sequences where a year goes by, is going to be me describing things and explaining things, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you, the party, lose your agency. If there's ever a scene you'd like to create, a question you'd like to ask, an action you'd like to take, you're always welcome to interject. If I say that the weeks turn into months and you want to say, hey, I want to make sure to point out that I'm, egging this guy's house, we can go into that. Feel free when I'm narrating to interrupt. Barring any interruptions, after breakfast, people come to IOTH Academy from all walks of life. with many, many different traditions, including hygiene traditions. But in the academy, they are going to make sure that everybody, all right, you gotta take a bath, you gotta wash your hands, you gotta go through your paces. And they have, for some of you, it may be almost, I don't want to say rustic, but it's a lot more like, hey, you're gonna bathe in this stream because it's magical and it's, clean, instead of having people bring you hot water or whatever. So it's going to vary based on that. How is everyone adapting to this so far?
I think Arianna would be fine. Just given the fact that she probably did a lot of the same stuff when she was at home, running around in the woods, eating wild mushrooms, and like not knowing what was going to happen to her. Arianna's great.
All right.
She's like, I'll take a bath in the river. That's wonderful.
Anyone else? Everyone else fine? Speak up otherwise.
I think Athalor will be a little bit more modest in terms of bathing in front of peers.
Mm-hmm.
You're not my nanny.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, the caretakers will say, all right, and they'll just conjure up curtains for you that just hang in midair.
Oh. Garnet would probably have higher expectations, probably initially disappointed that there's, this is supposed to be the best school around and we have to bathe in a river, and probably starts to wonder if the Grand Hall people had proper showers, and gets probably pretty envious, and probably like Athalor wants a bit more privacy. So if I could get some curtains too, please. And also cat.
Curtains managed.
I think Alexander, he's kind of had to adapt in his life a lot with whatever was happening around to, his previous home. So it's just kind of rolling with things here. Isn't too uncomfortable by it. Just kind of goes with it, and actually it's like, oh, this, getting clean. That's fantastic.
What a concept.
I think not often is he taking, like daily baths or showers or anything like that. So.
All right. Excellent. As the day proceeds, again, Athalor, you are just completely exhausted, a little bit bleary-eyed, very, very slow. When they're moving you from place to place, the caretakers are sort of fussing over you, like, well, that's what happens when you stay up all night. Come on, come on. Is this one old enough for coffee yet? No, not good for the elven metabolism. Do not engage. All right. And so they are going to gather all of you to one of the pathways. They take you into the forest, down one of the pathways. They've divided sort of all the different children up into different groups, different classes. And they bring you into one of the clearings in the grove. Which is completely... Boop. Here we go.
Ooh.
Oh, pretty.
All right.
It's a map.
Don't worry too much about suddenly being in tactical combat.
Is Stonehenge supposed to be magical? Like I'm getting Stonehenge vibes here.
Yeah, there's
I live
literally
like an hour from Stonehenge.
Ooh.
Oh. Relatable
Internationally,
content.
I tell people that's near where I live because more people know where that is than London, apparently.
That's interesting. It reminds me when you tell people, it used to be when I worked up by the studio, people be, where do you work? Oh, I work in LA. But there's always that thing where when somebody actually comes from where you are, you start to become more and more specific. Where, well, technically I don't actually work in LA. Technically I work in East LA or West LA. Okay, technically I work in the Valley. Technically I work in Burbank, and you just zoom in based on if they're actually from out of town. My wife is from Boston, unless you're in Boston. Then the details proceed. Speaking of details, each of the 3 clearings out in the forest has its own standing stone circle. Anybody who is already proficient in Arcana can roll an Arcana check.
Oh, I got this.
About this. And if you're not proficient, you will be soon.
Disadvantage incoming.
Wait, is it like we're counting the level 1, right? Oh my
Yeah.
god. Okay.
Yes!
Natural one.
All right, I got a 2. I got a big
sorry.
old 2.
I refuse your reality.
So I might have rolled only to the GM because I had that checked off.
Yes.
I might
But I
have also
did
rolled
get a
with
20.
inspiration.
So here's the problem. That roll that you just made, leg day, doesn't even burn one of the disadvantages chat gave you because that's just from being exhausted. Until this day is over, those are just floating over your head. You can spend a point of inspiration if you want to negate disadvantage once, but yeah, you're just going to have that constantly. Also, Necra, I can confirm that you got a 20. DM's honor.
I did switch the sheet. I did make sure I switched the sheet.
Thank you, chat, for the disadvantage of Damocles.
Exactly. Just complete and total disadvantage hanging over your head. All right. You're gathered around here with a bunch of the other students. You're brought to the edge of the stone circle, and the dragonborn Sankipur is going to be addressing the young students. This is your Magic 101, essentially. Now, before we proceed with this, I would like each of you to roll a flat 1d20.
Oh, is it slash roll or slash R?
Either works, actually.
Let's go.
Cohen got a 13. Like they got a 14. Lemon got an 18. Necra also got an 18. That is going to be a roll off. I need Lemon and Necra to roll 1d20 again.
Ooh. Pretty good.
All right, on the roll off, Lemon with a 15, and all right,
Oh,
Nice.
Necra with a 19. Congratulations,
yeah.
you win.
Oh, great. What did I set on fire this time?
Gathering storm, the skies darken and rain begins to fall.
Hey, you put out the fire.
Oh, great.
Yeah, actually.
I probably started a fire and then all of a sudden
It's
rain came
raining
crashing
men.
down.
Hallelujah. Sorry. Go on.
No, the weather actually does change and it begins to rain. And due to the rain, all the students sort of pull up, their cloaks around them to keep that off. And ranged attacks and perception checks based on sight are going to have disadvantage, which doesn't affect Leg Day because he's already completely disadvantaged up.
Triple disadvantage. I'm immune.
All right. It is now raining as your lesson begins, and Sankipur looks up oddly because this is supposed to be a completely weather-controlled environment.
Uh-oh.
The alignment of the spells. I will speak with the evokers. But first, once everybody's gathered, she takes a head count, counts over everybody. The dragon, let's see. Sventisco, the girl with the turquoise eyes who was sort of following you around, is not present for this lesson.
Would we have seen like where she would have gone off to? Or
Yeah,
like, in
one of the
morning?
other groves. Basically, all the students were walked out, divided into groups of 3 to maintain the proper teacher-to-student ratio.
Okay.
I don't think I like Sventiska.
Why? Or was that
She's
in
a little-
character or out of? Oh.
She's a little sus. Not gonna lie.
That's what I thought. She made a duck
at least
noise
Squeaky
earlier.
is no longer a Mogus.
Squeaky's an
Turquoise is a
active right
Mogus.
now. Don't worry.
Squeaky be sleeping.
Also,
Squeaky is
thanks to chat, Leg Day, you have toe socks to keep you warm.
What the fuck are toe socks? Aren't all socks toe socks?
The toe socks.
Oh my god.
No, they're socks with individual toes.
Oh!
Yeah, like a glove instead of mittens for your feet. He doesn't know, chat. All right.
I haven't unlocked the arcana for toe socks.
Uncultured.
Following up on the lesson from the previous day when Sanapkur asked each of you what magic means to you, the time has come to dispel outside misconceptions, because in the outside world where you came from, magic could mean basically anything. It's an awful, awful word because it doesn't say anything. it's like the word love. It means 1,000 different things to 1,000 different people. Magic could be an energy that you find in the world. It could be a sword that defeats your enemies. It could be a secret process by which people create miracles. It could be the mere existence of dragons. Here, outside in the world, it was a general term that you could use for anything. But this is a place of learning. This is a place where we're going to uncover those mysteries of magic. So, there is no one magic. There are 1,000 upon 1,000, each with their own souls, their own nature, their will and their rules, the raw power of the elements, the legacy that binds us together of our stories and our tales, the primal truth of music, the love, fury, and memories of our ancestors who gather around us, the binding laws of the Emerald Tablets, and every breath, every nurturing pulse of blood in our bodies, the very energies of life. We're going to teach you how to think about magic. We're going to teach you how to talk about magic and how to wield magic. And today, this starts with language. From now on, the word magic is like the word food.
You're just food.
Does that mean Arianna's gonna have a lot of it?
Uh-huh.
When we talk about magic, we are talking about the energies that course through our world. Different forms of energy that are available and out there. There's lots and lots of different kinds of food, but you can eat almost all of it. There's lots and lots of different kinds of magic, but we don't eat it. If magic is like food, then a spell is like a meal. It's something that you've taken different ingredients, different kinds of food, put them together, processed them by cooking or baking or mixing, and created something specific. Does this make sense to everyone so far?
You mentioned food, so
Yes. Normally that gets the attention of young ones.
But what happens when you try to put a lot of things together that don't go together? You still make something, right?
Yes, but it doesn't always turn out very good. If it goes particularly badly, it could even make somebody sick.
Hmm.
In order to cast a spell, you need to have the spell's formula. In order to make a meal, you need to have a recipe. When you prepare food, you could be baking or cooking. The word you use to prepare a spell is casting. So, magic is energy found throughout the four kingdoms. We use magic to cast spells. A spell is a specific application of magic, magical energies.
So does that mean casting is like cooking?
Yes.
Oh, maybe I'm not too tired for metaphors.
Garnet probably raises her hand and like waits a second.
Yes.
Well, what if? So you need the ingredients
Mhm.
to complete the recipe to make your final product, but sometimes if I need to cast a spell, I don't need certain components, but maybe Athalor does. I kind of stick my tongue out at Athalor. So why does he need components and I don't if we're doing the same recipe?
Maybe some of us actually know how to cook the meal. Garnet? And don't just imagine it from nowhere.
Well, how do you make a food if you don't have the ingredients? Athalor?
Did you say make a food?
Yes, I did. What do you call the final food?
Under the current metaphor, a meal, but carry on.
The final meal without the ingredients. Thank you.
So the spell is the process of making the food, following the recipe. There are some recipes that you may know so well that as long as you have the ingredients, the magical energy, because you still need that energy. The energy still has to come from somewhere. For each of you, it's going to come from a different place and by a different process. But you're all going to end up creating spells with it. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
All right. We're going to explain more as time goes on, but you are small children and your attention spans are very short. So, while you are here, you will be studying the lore of magic, the theory of it, languages of magic, different ways of casting spells, how magic interacts with other magic. That's called Arcana. It's like reading about cooking without just reading a recipe. You're also going to be studying your letters, basic mathematics, some history, and each of you will be required to study an art or a craft of some kind. Because however it is that we interact with the world and that we create with our hands and our minds is going to affect the way that you interact with magic. Plus, you are small children and you need creative outlets, so you don't blow us all up.
Pointedly looking at Arianna.
Looking at Arianna as well.
Same.
All right. Everybody take one turn of the hourglass to run around inside the main square, get some energy out, and you'll be gathered up again after that. Except for you, she points over at Athalor.
Oh, that's a relief. I didn't have any energy to put out anyway.
You come with me.
That's still movement.
Yes, and you plod slowly along. It is only finally now, as the caretakers gather everyone except Athalor and start scooting them down the path back to the main clearing, Alyxander, that you feel almost as if you had just accidentally stepped in ice-cold water. A chill passes over you, and you feel a familiar presence in the back of your mind returning.
Was before this, was Alyxander still like burning up kind of feeling?
Yes.
Like when he woke. Okay.
The pain subsided, it slowly faded. It kind of got its worst in the middle of the night, but it's gone down a little bit.
Okay.
And now when it finally fades, that's when the cold returns and you can feel the presence of that voice in the back of your head.
I think almost immediately, Alex would try to just mentally say in his mind, "Are you back? Hello?
Well, that was fun.
What happened? Where were you?"
Elsewhere, tending to other matters. I would have been happy to tend to your needs, but the light of the Sun Rider blessed you with its holy presence and all of its gifts.
You make it seem like that sounds good, but it wasn't.
That's called sarcasm. You'll get a lot further in life if you learn it.
All right, learn sarcasm. Okay, I've got I can do things now again, right?
Yes, and none too soon. Imagine running about this place trying to learn magic on your own.
Okay, I guess I have you here and your help. Thank you.
Yes. Do not let that girl tend to your wounds again.
Why not? They felt better after.
Yes, and you were a completely normal boy after.
Oh.
Yes. And trust me, if they found out that you were a completely normal boy with not a single spark of magical talent in you, what do you think they would do?
Then I wouldn't be here.
Yes. And everything that your parents have given up would be wasted.
It's not going to be a waste. I won't let her again.
Good. Tend to your lessons. And it falls silent. You can still feel that presence and that ice cold power within you, but the voice goes away for the time being, just lurking somewhere in the back, focused elsewhere. Athalor, you are taken into the forest on an unfamiliar path where the floating lights do not illuminate the way. Sanapkur turns you over to some of the caretakers who are going to walk you along, and she doesn't seem too upset, more just like, all right, this is some business we need to tend to.
Oh, there's so much walking. I did not get the transfer last night.
Well, stay in bed because you're not done walking, kid. They take you to another clearing, and you're not entirely sure how you got here. The pathway was very confusing. And instead of standing stones gathered all around, this area has a whole bunch of small stones, almost like river stones, just on the ground, forming an elaborate pattern within a circle. And waiting there is Inril Untermaler.
Hello, Master Untermaler.
Athalor, the Althar boy. Already raising a fuss, I see.
I couldn't sleep without the sounds of home. Even when we were coming here, just our path was still littered with the familiar sounds, and it felt like we were still so close to home, but here it's a different magic. And when I can't hear anything, I can't sleep. I just wanted to go out on the roof. And I don't know. I just forgot how to climb.
Minotaur tilts his head, and the rings punched through his horns jangle as they all switch to the side.
The hum of the gyre. If you need something while you are here, speak to the caretakers, and if they do not tend to it, speak to Sanapkur. You must be able to sleep. Now.
He surveys you, sees how tired you are, and looks out over the stones that are arrayed in the path.
They may have told you this is a punishment.
He kind of glares down at them.
The labyrinth is a path. A single path that winds through every portion of this circle until it reaches the end. Each of us finds our own center in different ways. Some through gentle breathing, some through working with their hands, some through music. Amongst my people, we find our way by finding our way and walking. And the labyrinth is a way to find the center of your mind by moving your feet, following its twists and turns without having to choose what direction you go, and losing your focus. So,
He walks you, he walks alongside you and takes you to the front, and you can see that this is in fact an incredibly elaborate maze with only one entrance.
So, is the end the center, or does it come out the other side?
He nods.
just the center. One way in, one way out.
So, success is inevitable, Master Untermaler.
If you try long enough, yes. I want you to walk to the center, and as you walk, take your mind to the place it goes when you trance. Let your body's legs and your mind's wandering be one.
But what if I wait? How tall are the stones? Are they just
They're
like,
little river stones.
They're just like
They're just
cobblestones, right?
Yeah, they're just like cobblestones, basically.
If I fall into a trance, how will I stop myself moving over the lines?
With lots of practice.
Oh, that sounds like that's going to be a lot of work.
All good things come from work. Now, go ahead.
Okay, are you staying here the whole time to watch me in this apparently apt metaphor with a labyrinth and a minotaur?
No, I just came to check in on you. I have business to attend to. The history of warfare class isn't going to teach itself.
Is it still the labyrinth when you're not here, Master Intamola?
Yes, it is still a labyrinth without a minotaur.
I've already learned something today, Master Intamola, so thank you for that. Okay, I guess one foot in front of the other. Thank you for your guidance.
He just sort of exhales and leaves you to go ahead and start walking. Roll a Constitution saving throw, not actually with disadvantage. That's going to burn off one of your disadvantages because you don't get disadvantage on saves from this.
Mm-hmm. Okie dokie. I think that's this one. Bam.
Okay, a 6.
Oh.
And roll.
It's not a 1.
Roll a survival check. Now roll just a flat intelligence check, just an intelligence check with disadvantage from your fatigue.
I just click on the intelligence stat.
Yep, you just click on the word intelligence and that should roll. All right. You wander all over the cobblestones, kicking several of them out of the way, and essentially just pass out.
Fuck your mace! Fuck your mace!
You essentially just pass out somewhere in the middle of it, not even having reached the center. And just like as you trance, you start to slow down. The connection between your mind and your body not particularly strong at the moment. Kick over a rock. Just gonna take a quick break and then end up just passed out in the meadow. And the caretakers, they sigh, they shrug, they check the movement of the sun. They're like, yeah, give him a few minutes, and they'll let you nap it off.
Hooray!
All right. As for, we're quickly going to check in with Alyxander and with Garnet to see what you're doing during your, and with Arianna, what the three of you are doing essentially during recess. Just a quick little how you spend your time. What do you do? And then we have a couple of important matters to attend to.
I guess I'll go first. Probably as soon as we get recess, Garnet would just do a little jog to go under a tree because it's been raining, and any chance you get to get out of the rain would be nice. And probably just was told to do physical activity, not really a physical, athletic person, so just kind of does like some warrior 1, warrior 2 yoga poses. It's just kind of getting some really good stretches in, and just not doing too much physical labor. It's just kind of stretching.
All right. There's kids running around. Like it is raining, so they've sort of stopped running around quite as much as they would be. Some of them are taking shelter, but some of them are still splashing in puddles, playing chase, playing tag, playing soldiers, that kind of stuff.
I think Alex would go over to Arianna and ask, why do you think it's raining? The teacher said that was weird, right?
It is weird. I thought it was supposed to be a nice sunny day, and I guess the last 24 hours have been. It's been calm. It's been beautiful. It's been so nice.
Yeah, with like in a a circle, right? I mean, maybe it's magic or food or whatever they were telling us about. Did that make sense to you?
I mean, I, I sort of like I like food. I don't cook it very often, but I like to eat it. So it kind of made sense. I feel like magic would be pretty similar in that way that you might like to do magic.
I guess I feel like it made a little sense, but I got lost when they started talking about the ingredients and things because
Yeah,
yeah,
I didn't really get that either. But I bet they'll explain it later.
maybe. I mean, I guess it is only the second day, so there's time.
All right. Recess carries on. Eventually, Athalor comes back into the mix, and one day begins to
Sorry, just adding
bleed.
effects.
All good. No. Emote it up. One day moves on into the next as you all start to take your classes, and right now most of your classes are together. You start to learn the absolute basics of magical theory. Magic is energy. Magic is a form of energy. There are many different types of energy, and there are many different ways of interacting with it. But that's one of the things that they're trying to drill into your head, is that magic is the word you use for energy. You start to learn all sorts of different topics. Each of you, if you haven't already picked the skills that you get as part of your class, go ahead and do so. Also, I need Crowan, Legday, and Lemon to each roll 1d20.
And when you say skills, oh crap. Sorry,
That
that
was-
was 1d2. That would have been awful. Oh, nice one.
All right.
All right.
I'll ask about the skills.
We're doing
after.
great.
Amazing. We have a natural 1 and 2 6s. Okay. Crow and Lemon, I need you two to do a roll off.
Roll off. Let's go.
Okay.
It's for roll off.
Another
Okay.
6 and a 4. Okay.
That's all you.
Six
That's all
ways.
you.
Here's how this is gonna work. No, you know what? I was gonna say if it's a bad thing, it happens to Leg Day because he got a natural 1, but I think for consistency's sake, because some of these can be very either or, we're just gonna say that this one's on Crowan.
All right. Get all the bad rolls out of the way.
Fog of war, thick cloying clouds conceal the battlefield. All right. The weather continues to be off. And it continues to be off over the next several coming days, like even into months. Up until this point, for some reason, the weather was just almost completely perfect and there was regularly scheduled rain and so on and so forth. But ever since you started classes, in addition to the rain that comes in, fog just keeps rolling through. The teachers and the caretakers treat it as they try not to let it bug them, but a lot of you are aware of what's going on. You know something is not right. And it seems like something may be going wrong with the spells that they use to modulate the place.
Can I at some point like insight to try to just like see if I can delve some more or gain some more information about like why things are messing up from the observing the professors and stuff?
We'll do that first. Before we roll that, I'm going to explain what I mean. When we did our origin stories, we picked out what skills your characters are proficient in based on your ancestry and your background. But we didn't necessarily pick out skills that you get for your class. So you're each going to have a list of skills that you can pick from based on the class that you picked. I will go ahead and start working on getting that available for you. If you're not sure where to pull that up, it'll be under the description for your class near the very beginning. But while we do that, Crowan, go ahead and roll that insight check.
Sure, that is a natural one.
Do you want to
know
use the
shit.
inspiration that chat gave you?
For this, not yet.
Okay, we're going to hold off on that. All right.
It do
Good
be
enough.
cloudy.
Yeah.
It do be cloudy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
real
yeah.
cloudy.
though.
Why?
There do be some clouds.
All right. So time goes on, you learn more and more about magic, and each of you, as I said earlier, is required to learn a craft or a musical instrument, because the food thing doesn't work for everybody. So the idea is to get each of you used to learning some sort of practical skill to interact with, and then to explain magic in a way that makes sense for whatever it is that you're drawn towards. What skill would each of you pick up? What craft or musical instrument would each of you pick up?
I think Alex already knows. He already kind of does it. Those cartographer's tools. That's an easy
Okay.
one for him.
So you choose that, and like you're taking a class, and there's a thing that happens when somebody who's self-taught gets formal training, where in some ways they're leaps and bounds ahead because they've done so much on their own. But in other ways, there are basic aspects of theory or technique that they never learned. So it can be difficult for them to relearn. But also, if you've been using a computer program for a really long time and then somebody shows you a shortcut you never knew about and it just blows your mind, that can also happen. So Alexander is now learning like formal cartography skills. And to a certain degree, I'm not going to say that it is compromising the self-expression that he uses, because he still can just draw his maps with whatever scale he wants and such, but they're teaching him how to do like accurate scaling and perspective and measuring from landmarks and all that stuff. What craft would Athalor want to learn?
I feel like maybe sculpting.
Interesting. Okay. I like it. Why is he drawn to that?
Because he can recreate his precious gyre's sort of facets and shit. He's very interested in the patterns and the repetitive sound of knife or chisel on marble is a source of comfort.
Okay.
Pardon me.
And also, it isn't very long before they bring him just a small enchanted box that generates a low hum. And it's not quite right, but with his feedback, they sort of take it back and they tweak with it until it gets him to a point where it's at least close enough to the hum of the gyre to be comforting. But I think it's always a little bit off, and it's something that in time he would want to make on his own.
Mm-hmm.
What craft or skill does Garnet want to pick up?
I think she'd be really into writing. I think she's always attracted to books and reads a lot of, probably not like fictional stuff, but would be drawn to writing and learning new languages and along those lines. Probably in like the more magical arcana route of writing, whether it's writing about things she's learned or maybe eventually wants to write magical books of her own one day. So more on the like author writing side.
Okay. They would want you, as part of this, to learn calligraphy.
Ooh.
Because what they're trying to do is, writing is still up here. And yes, you know, your body's still involved because there's no computers, you have to do everything by hand. But writing and composition is a great skill that they want you to learn, but they also want you to learn calligraphy, making illuminated manuscripts, making beautiful texts and stuff, because that is important. It's going to teach you some of the artistic aspects, the attention to physical detail, the movement of your hands, the precision you have to use in order to avoid blotting the page, those sorts of skills.
Do I add calligrapher's proficiency to
Calligraphy tools, as in your bottom
tools.
left. Yes. You can add a toolkit. And then the funny thing is that Arianna already has a craft that she practices, right?
Yes, she does. So if you didn't get a chance to watch the prologue, Arianna actually does jewelry making. She, grew up with her parents, kind of watching fire in the forges and seeing the beautiful things that were made in those forges. And so she decided to keep that, pick that up at a pretty young age, and she's going to continue that. It kind of makes her feel like she's at home.
Guys, I've dropped out of IOTH Academy. I don't care if you think I'm stupid. I'm opening an Etsy store.
Graphic
Gonna
design
make
is
my
my
dreams
passion.
Following my
true.
dreams.
Hey,
Following my dreams.
You're ruining my immersion. You're completely destroying the fantasy reality. It's an Elfsea store, okay?
Might be.
All right. Before we proceed on with the year and with the classes that everybody's taking, I think everybody's taken their additional skills from their character class. Does Garnet approach Alex at all about the healing offer after what happened? Does that come up again as time goes on?
Oh yeah. Probably if like he's not doing much, I would find a moment to approach. Yeah. Hey, Alex. How's your hand feeling?
Oh, it's better now. Thank you. It kind of like looks down and uncomfortable a little bit. It says, "No, I'm fine."
Really? It just went away overnight?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little strange, I suppose. It got really bad during the night, but then after it started getting better, and I think it feels better now. Yeah, I don't know what it was, but um,
Are you
it was
good at
just
like
weird.
hiding?
Do you want to
Or
roll a
what do you look
deception
like?
check?
Sure.
I was just-
Let's see, 25.
Wow. Okay, that would be opposed by your insight roll, Garnet.
So close.
Jeez.
All right. I feel like you'd have to film this with Garnet sort of hesitating for a moment, got so close to that, thinking it over, but not really getting any sense that he's lying. So it's odd. It's maybe a little funny, but guess it's fine.
Oh, well, I was so upset with myself because I thought I messed up the spell, but maybe it's one of those like, salt in the wound where it hurts a little at the beginning, but it's good for you overall. So,
Yeah.
hey, I'm glad it feels better.
I think it was maybe like something like your interaction with Arianna and the flower thing. It just both of you
Oh,
combined.
yeah.
It made that weird. Maybe it was. I think it was probably something like that. But it's fine now. So
Hey, Alex,
Okay.
Garnet. I had
Oh,
a
hey.
thought.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You- They don't seem happy that it's raining and foggy, right?
Well, who wants their hair wet, Athalor?
Well, do you think that they're the ones who try to make it sunny and make it normal every day? I was just thinking it over while I was elsewhere.
Sleeping.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yes. Some of us didn't get much sleep. But do you think that maybe do you guys remember how distracted IOTH was during our ceremony at the beginning? Do you think that maybe that's why the weather's going weird? Maybe it's his smell and it's faltering somehow, like he's burned the meal.
But it was fine when he looked distracted, right? It started happening after that. Was he trying to make it like this? What
I
are you
don't know.
saying?
I'm just saying I expected something more grand, and today it's gone weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking for things that aren't there.
Maybe a little bit. Lack of sleep might do that. I mean, trees need water. How are they going to water this place if it doesn't rain once in a while?
Magic.
Well,
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
we've already bathed in a river, and there are no mountains here from which it would spew forth. Surely they
No
generate
showers.
their own magic.
Yeah.
Water even. Ugh, words are hard.
I mean, I was curious about it as well, Athalor. But I'm pretty stumped about it. If I hear anything, I mean, I'll let you know.
Okay. We won't treat it as an official investigation, just between us.
They could give us some
Suddenly,
magical umbrellas.
Sventisco, the girl with the turquoise eyes, seems to have been there the entire time. Just, from camera right. Do you think that he's delving in forbidden magics and the whole thing's going to explode?
Okay, so number one, What forbidden magics?
Oh, there's all kinds of forbidden magic,
How
which
long have you been here?
I got here the same time you did.
Did you go to a different class as us? Did she just go to forbidden magic class? And we've been taught about baking?
Oh, we're not eligible for the forbidden magic class until we hit at least our 7th year. Trust me, I've
7th
checked.
year?
Do you like sneak into one or something? What do you?
No, where I come from, everybody knows lots and lots about magic. There's magic absolutely everywhere. The blood of dragons flows through our veins. The arcane heritage of... I don't remember the rest of it.
Then why did they send you here?
Because I'm very, very good. Roll an insight check.
Alright, disadvantage is here. What? Okay, disadvantage, insight, bam. Double 11s, baby.
Oh,
Nice.
Highest one
Over a
yet.
10.
All right.
I saw Jeff, fuck you.
Chad, if you're wondering where Squeaky is, Squeaky lives in the Great Hall. I was supposed to live here and be part of these adventures, but Squeaky's fate was permanently altered last
You
episode.
got bullied out of it.
All right, there's a standoff as the two of you look directly at each other, seeing who's going to crack first. She got exactly an 11. She ends up just kind of busting up just because of the prolonged eye contact. All I know is that there is forbidden magic.
Well, if anyone would know about it, it would be IOTH, presumably.
What's so forbidden about rain and fog? Who cares?
I don't know.
You said it was going to explode?
That I
Why
mean,
would it do that?
I don't know. Forbidden magic could do anything, I guess.
I don't think you know anything about that.
She rolls her eyes and then keeps walking away. Don't say I didn't warn you. When it explodes.
Is she your friend, Athalor? Are you...
Does she look... Is it because she's tall?
I don't know. You were
Do you
talking.
think, do you think
during-
all the tall people know each other?
I mean, you see each other over the crowds. I guess maybe that
He's got a point.
eye
Oh.
contact or something. You're like friends after that. I don't. You were talking on the first day we got here.
He knows too much, we have to kill him.
No, I barely remember her name.
Can you bully this one out of our class by any chance?
You now have two
Hey,
quests.
listen,
Investigate the strange weather and bully Sventisco out of your class.
as far as my mother and father are concerned, that was not bullying. I was just trying to make sure that we had a well-rounded class. Okay?
Yeah, assertive influence. I see you.
Yes, it was pruning the shushy ones.
Ah,
Yeah, he was just bringing some like bad energy to us, right? He was constantly getting us down. All the shushing. I mean, it was a good thing, I think, right?
maybe they're just.
Arianna!
huh? What's up, Athalor?
Do you know Svetlana? Svetlana?
Sventisca.
That
Sven-
one.
Sventisco? Oh, Sventisco.
Is she yours?
Yeah.
To be honest,
she yours.
to be honest with you, I don't like her. She seems very oh, what's the word? She really likes to stir the pot in a lot of ways, it feels like. Why? What happened?
Ah, back to cooking again.
She was just telling us about how great and powerful everyone is where she comes from.
And that the fog clouds are going to explode.
Yes, that too.
I have been wondering about what's been going on with the weather.
I thought that IOTH's magic might have been weakened, and that's why he looked strange on our induction day, but these guys say I'm being overly paranoid.
What
I
if they're
know.
just making a forest fireproof? We've set a fire on day one, and keeping your forests wet is very important to prevent forest fires. You can do it too.
It's the school itself. It's just it's protecting itself against Arianna because you're so powerful.
What?
See, he gets it.
Well, let's not be too
I
unreasonable.
don't think
to
it's my
Arianna.
fault.
She also has a phoenix on her hand.
Huh? Oh. Don't look
Yeah,
at
but-
me. I burn people. I don't set them. Never
I've
mind.
never set somebody on fire. But you know, it does
I'll
bother
prepare
me.
your medal when we get home, Arianna.
Is there any way? Maybe, you know, if we have some free time, maybe we should go to the library and see if we can look anything up about the weather. Because it has been bothering me, especially when on day one when we got here, I was talking to Alex about it. It was so beautiful.
Yeah, maybe the library is a good idea.
Yeah, we'll check out all the books we can on rain.
And forbidden magic.
Yes.
And yes, forbidden magic, Alexander.
Sventisco
go
pops
get
up.
there.
They totally don't have any books on forbidden magic down here. Believe me, I've checked.
Nobody asked you.
What about rain?
That's boring. I would never read about that. And she just keeps walking off, distracted by like whatever it is that she saw.
Did she
Hit her
like,
with the who
circle
asked.
around back here to then just walk
Yeah,
away
she like
again?
walked off. She was hanging from a branch a moment ago. Then she was chasing some other kid. Then she was like poking a bug with a stick. She happened to walk past you. Honestly, you're really not sure if she overheard your conversation or if she just randomly decided to share the lack of forbidden magic at your local library. Like, that could have been a completely independent incident. I will say, however, that the grove, the landmass where you're living, is entirely inhabited by red-robed, first years and the caretakers. So there's almost no advanced material here. The library is a children's library of magic, granted.
Yeah.
But it's still a children's library.
Athalor kind of slaps himself. Just checking. Just for me. You will see her too, right?
See who?
Yeah. Sventisco? Sventisco?
Yes, Sventisco. I don't understand how she moves so fast.
I don't get her.
I think
I'm
the
gonna
long
be
legs
honest.
makes her walk really fast. Isn't that how tall people move?
She knows too much. She has to die.
Oh, well, I see we needn't check out any books on tall people.
Sir, I kind of want to make an insight check myself about what's going on.
Okay, so insight is getting a read on a person, right? So
That's not what I meant then.
all right, that's totally fine. Tell me what you want to accomplish, and we'll figure out what role is required.
I want to see if there is any sort of magic behind the weather that is happening here, because I feel like that's at the core of our dilemma right now, which
Mhm.
is, who is causing this, what is going on, and maybe we take the weekend or something to take a little look around and outside and see what we can find.
We're gonna
All right.
Nancy Drew a weather station. Just poke around behind
Yeah.
the meteorologist with like a spyglass.
Poke the dome, get a really long stick, climb a tree.
What do
poke
you
the-
know? Give up your secrets.
So here's my inclination. The gang is investigating the curious weather patterns, which seem to be consternating the adults as well. But this is the sort of thing that could take some time, because I didn't say the library was useless. It's still a library of magic. It's just not, the full grown-up library. In order to do that, you'd have to sneak out of the grove, which we may or may not be there yet. So spending time at the library, doing some analysis, doing some experiments, just seeing what you know, and constantly learning more about magic in order to, say, get the spells that your character is entitled to that could really help with something like this, such as Detect Magic, which I happen to know that you picked. So let's have time go on a little bit as we continue to investigate this. So imagine that the days turn into weeks and the weeks turn into months, and there are many, many lessons. There's lessons on writing and reading. There's lessons on basic mathematics. There are some lessons about the world, the four kingdoms, how there's these different worlds that are all tightly closed around each other to form a protective shell that keeps things from beyond locked inside, or locked either out and keeps things that are inside locked in. You're learning basic things about the sun and the seasons. Very, very low grade, science, essentially. And your magical education
Mitochondria.
continues.
It's the powerhouse of the cell. I know this one.
I read about this one. So I'm going to give each of you, just abstractly tell me one thing that you're doing if you are investigating the mystery of the weather as you're learning this. And then we're going to go from there into the next big lesson. And now some of you have already cast spells, but the Academy, it does try to meet everyone where they are, but it also doesn't assume that. So one of the first lessons that's going to come up is the actual process of spell casting. And if you already know how to do it, they're going to teach you what exactly it is that you're doing, even if you don't understand it. But first, let's give each member of the party a chance to sort of tell me what they're doing if they are investigating the strange weather or up to any other sort of personal side business. Let's start with Crowan and work our way one by one.
Sure. I think that over the course of like, how long are we doing this? Like, it's over the course of like days, weeks, or
Oh, let's say like a week or two for starters.
Does
Okay.
it rain like biblical flood? Like, does it just not stop?
No, it does stop, but it's kind of erratic. It'll come and go unexpected. One moment it'll be completely sunny, then suddenly there will be clouds overhead and it'll start raining. The fog is pretty omnipresent. There didn't used to be fog every morning. There's fog every morning, and it doesn't really fade until around noon.
I think Alex would try to, at one of these days during like a break period or something where the professor's going off wherever, try to like tail them and see if you can like eavesdrop on a conversation.
Interesting.
Or not to be spotted. A little stealthy venture.
Okay, I like it. Why don't you roll a stealth check?
All right.
Roll this flat, unless... Okay.
I'll use inspiration for advantage on this one.
All right, you're going to burn one of the points of inspiration that chat gave you. To roll again, you get a 14. Excellent.
13.
You're able to tail one of the caretakers as they're sort of escorting everybody and then heading back into the teacher's lounge, for lack of a better term. You sneak up, you're kind of beside the door, crouching down. Where are you hidden? How are you hiding?
Probably be like outside of the door. Like once they go in, like be at the side of it, try to like keep an ear to the door kind of thing.
Roll a perception check for me.
Sure.
16. All right. You overhear them muttering and complaining about the weather and how, it's getting into their bones. And, on the outside, they could kind of tell when the weather was going to change. But now they just randomly get these pains because the weather itself seems to be changing at random. They're grumbling about the higher-ups not tending to this and not fixing this. You also happen to learn that this is only affecting the Grove.
Okay.
None of the other areas are being impacted. And that is what Alyxander learns. Athalor, you are no longer fatigued. Time has gone by. You are still absolutely stacked with chat's wrath.
Behold the wrath of chat.
But outside of that, you are free to move around between your studies when you're doing sculpting, basic magic theory, writing, so on and so forth. What is Athalor doing? Is he investigating the mysterious weather, or does he have business of his own to attend to?
I think Athalor, like, they're doing like basic science lessons, yeah? To what degree would he know about acidity?
His science. Oh, I can't.
Yeah, I
hear.
can't hear.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it might be
Everybody gets
muted.
1 XP because the DM was muted.
Nice up
Yay!
here. Keeping track.
It's stacking up 300 more and you'll be level, no, 298 more and you'll be level 2 for free.
Betting it down.
Yeah, you get like the very basics of acidity, and also you've had the benefit of an Alfar education, so you're at least
Yeah.
mildly familiar. Do you have proficiency in nature?
No. Although
Okay.
I haven't added any of my sorcerer skills yet, but those don't offer nature, so off we fuck.
Unlucky.
In terms of the sort of rudimentary understanding that
Mhm.
Athalor has, his investigation is quite scientific and two-part.
Mhm.
What he'd do is when he makes his sculptures, he'd like try and put them out on the windowsill
Mhm.
so that like he could observe to what degree they got any kind of erosion or sort of interaction with the raindrops when they fall on them.
Mhm.
And the control he'd he'd bring when he was bathing and just like put it in the
And just
stream
dunk it?
water that has always been there. So he's got a very rudimentary control
Mhm.
and variable test.
Okay. Okay, I like it. Roll a nature check, and I know you're not proficient,
And
but
disadvantage.
and with disadvantage from the Wrath of Chat. We're burning through these. A
Poggers.
natural 1.
Here we go again, boys. That's 3 in the first hour.
Your control statue, you accidentally lose hold of it when you go tumbling, take a tumble in the stream, and it now washes down somewhere. It's somewhere in the river. What was it? What was it a sculpture of?
Oh crumbs! It was a statue that was like trying to be an imagining of like a kind of girthier 2D representation of Garnet's tattoo.
Okay. The symbol of Zalar. All right. Garnet, were both statues identical?
Oh,
I was on.
yes.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Me or him? Wait, what?
I was asking
but
him
both-
that, and then I was
both
asking
statues.
Garnet to roll a perception check.
Oh crap!
Natural 20. Athalor, have you added sculptor's tools to your character sheet yet?
I have, but I don't know which attribute it works with.
All right. I would say it's either intelligence or it's dexterity. You can set it to query attributes you can pick, and then make a sculptor's tools check with either dexterity or intelligence. But do take disadvantage on this.
Bam. How recognizable is it?
All right. So you got an 8 on the crafting. So Garnet,
Looks like a shit bird.
at one point during these during this test, during the ensuing weeks, you see a clay sculpture of what is very clearly what is very crudely, not clearly, somebody's attempt to represent the symbol of Zalar the Sunrider, and it's on Athalor's windowsill. And if it wasn't for the fact that you were very sharp-eyed and keen, it would have been indiscernible. Because it's
Am
not
I
very
near
good.
This statue.
Yeah.
And, wait, so Athalor's near it, and I'm near it, and I'm seeing this.
Well, again, this takes place over the course of a while. So if you want to set up the scene where he's nearby and you can confront him, we can do that.
We'd likely both
Yeah.
be inside when it starts to rain anyway, and like, we're like, oh, it's raining, and like run
Yeah.
upstairs. We're like, okay, go bird, catch the rain. I'm doing science over here.
I'd probably like the moment where he's like maybe setting it up on the window, or like he's finding a spot for it. If that's what's going down, then I.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Is that? Did you just sculpt this Zalar? Is that what that is?
That's an experimental variable, Garnet. I'm trying to discern how acidic this rain is.
With the statue.
Yes. Yes, but okay. Maybe this requires a touch of explanation. So,
Uh-huh.
we learned in class that there are the different things that like go into potions and things, and different liquids react different ways with materials, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me if I'm going too fast for you.
Keep going as slow as you can.
So to discern about this rain, I figured I'd see if it reacts with a known quantity, like the clay I've been sculpting, compared to what we know is the natural water here, which is that which is in the stream. Although I lost my control because, ironically, I lost control of my hand and it floated away down the stream. So, yes, this is an experimental variable.
Why
Right.
did you have to draw the damn or sculpt the damn bird? Couldn't you pick a snowman or something?
What's a snowman?
All right, carry on. I'm gonna walk away.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead and turn to Garnet. What are you doing? Are you investigating the mysterious weather? Do you have matters of your own to attend to instead? What do you do over the next couple of weeks?
I probably take like a day to just like do that weird Linkin Park move of just standing out in the rain and staring at the clouds and seeing if it looks any different than a cloud, and kind of realizing my whole group is like concerned with this rain. So I would like to take a test tube and collect some of the rain.
Mm-hmm.
And if you would allow me, and if I could explain my way through this, cast Identify on the rain. Because it says if it's a magic item or a magic imbued object, I learn its properties and how to use them, and just properties about the water.
Okay. All right. I like that. Roll an Arcana check for me, please.
Okay. Arcana. Ooh.
25. Wow, where are these coming from?
They're being sucked from my fucking dice.
Give me your power.
Okay.
A sacrifice is demanded.
So the water itself is not imbued with any kind of magic, but you get the sense that it's interacted with magic. It's sort of the byproduct of magic. What else can I tell you? You got a 25 on your Arcana check. What else can I tell you? The rainwater is identical to the water in the river. So it's very specifically the same water that flows across the grove is what's falling down back on the grove.
Is this normal rain like any other rain, or is this different rain?
It's almost like artificial, like the process of rain creation has been accelerated.
Oh, okay.
But the source is in the grove. And the source is somewhere in the waterways of the grove.
Okay.
Arianna, how do you spend the ensuing weeks? Do you do anything to participate in the investigation?
Yeah, I feel like Arianna would go with her original idea of taking a look in the library to see maybe some things that she could pick up, and I feel like that would be where she would learn how to detect magic. I do feel as though she would have learned taken the time from the lessons and things like that to be able to use that spell. And so I think that's what she would do. She'd go outside, maybe into the center of the grove, and see if she could detect magic.
Okay, awesome. And you did already have some magical talent going into this, so you're able to essentially work this one out on your own. And when you activate detect magic, everybody experiences it differently, because it essentially allows you to perceive magic with your senses. And every single different type of magical energy is going to be perceived differently. What sense does Arianna use when she activates detect magic? Like, how does she experience magic? Does she see it, hear it, smell it, feel it, taste it? She feels it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Arianna definitely feels magic. Like she likes to be touching the thing that she is working with, I feel like, in order to actually use it. So like, when she's working with her flowers or things like that, she has to hold the object because it makes the magic that much easier to feel and to,
Okay.
work with.
All right. When you first activate this, you are surrounded by so much magic. I mean, this whole sphere is made of it. You're on a floating forest for the Titan's sake. Almost every single aspect of everything has been manipulated or is being sustained or created by magic. So it's almost overwhelming. It's almost a form of sensory overload. Roll a wisdom saving throw, please.
For the context of the rest of us, where is Arianna doing this?
Where you said you walked out into the middle of the open clearing, right?
Yep.
And just sort of let the rain fall?
Mm-hmm.
Let the rain fall.
All right. So you got a 17 on your wisdom save. So the sensory overload, it's a lot all at once, but you're able to parse it. Partially because the Grove is specifically catered to red robes who are still young and learning, and they don't want it to be like the first time that you cast detect magic, you lose your sight or anything like that. So it has definitely been sort of dampened, or at least you're seeing that the soil is filled with magic, the trees, the plants themselves are filled with magic, and it feels almost similar to your home and the way that everything, just the life pulsing through the landscape and growing in every tree. It's not quite the same, but it's very similar here. Everything here is sustained by magic, and you can feel that passing through. But there's an odd sort of, would you say that you feel like textures, temperatures? Is there some way that you can describe what tactile sensory information Arianna usually gets when she's interacting with magic?
I feel like she would close her eyes in this instance and let the rain completely wash over her, drench her robes, her hair, feel it as the individual drops start running down her cheeks. And I think that what she would feel is first off the the physical nature of these drops hitting her skin, but also kind of like the liquid feeling that you get when you are covered in that kind of very light layer of water.
Okay. Roll an Arcana check. A 10. You're still fairly new at this. You have felt magic before because you've used it before, but you've mostly felt it when it was actually flowing through you, or when you were in direct contact with something with a lot of magical energy. This is more subtle. You have to refine your senses. And so, all right, what can we tell? We can tell the water it's real water. It is manipulated, or there's magic through it, sort of a magic of an order, of a cycle to it. That cycle's been disrupted. There's two other sort of sensations beneath that. One of them is this almost surge of adrenaline, almost the way that you feel when you hear distant music that's exciting and mysterious. But the other is it's past, it's cold, and it's numbing, and it's bitter.
So I guess at this point, Arianna has gathered as much information as she is going to be able to get here. And I think that knowing that all of her friends at this point were also doing some investigation of their own, she would at the dinner table maybe just be like, guys, what did you figure out? And she would share with them, the rain feels bitter, like it has an emotion to it in some way.
Names,
And
did
it's so
we
cold.
cover if the rain did anything to Athalor's experiment? Or at least the
You didn't
Oh, I
notice.
totally missed that.
No, it's so the problem is you lost your control sample. So you sort of you haven't noticed any unusual corrosion. The rain does not seem to have any alkaline. It's no more acidic or alkali than normal
So nothing
rain.
that would be like, I don't need a control to know this is weird.
Yeah. And also, if it left any residue, it was subtle enough that without the control sample, you're not able to derive anything from it. That's partially a consequence of losing the statue, and also a consequence of the fact that your roll was terrible.
Yeah.
Later on, when you're more advanced students and you start learning alchemy, you can use alchemist's tools to do test strips and stuff like that. Medieval test strips. And that will be more helpful.
I got nothing, Arianna. My experiment was a failure.
Well, I learned something. I mean, it seems to only be affecting the grove where we are. It's nowhere else in the school is this happening. At least that's what the grown-ups were saying. Overheard they're talking.
Oh, I was doing some tests on the rain, and I found that the rain isn't magical in itself, but what is creating the rain, the clouds maybe, is what's magical, and it's almost accelerated. And it's the same water that's in the river that we're bathing, so we're drenched in whatever this is. But whatever is weird is coming from how it's made, and maybe not the rain itself.
I was getting that kind of feeling too, like the cycle of whatever has been going on has been disrupted in some way, and that the rain is just continuing to fall at that accelerated pace like you had figured out, Garnet. I think that's so
Mhm.
weird.
Well, it has something to do with something here in the grove, either one of us or one of the grown-ups here, or this place, maybe.
If something's been disrupted, maybe we should look to see where the river comes from.
Ooh. I love that idea. That has to be our next adventure.
Oh,
You
you
know,
have a
honestly,
flair for drama, Arianna.
that seems like the perfect time for us to say, will our heroes follow the river to its source, and what mysteries await them? Find out more when we come back from this short break.